what the most overhyped training metric is.
For a recovery metric, I think heart rate variability is
It's a sad day, Trainiacs. That there was the very last group ride of the year. That's it. They'll still go and do big, high intensity sprints of like 30 seconds to 2 minutes down the street, up and down the street in the dark in the morning, but that really doesn't help me become a half Ironman triathlete. I need to start doing really long, intense, well, not intense. I need to start doing really long, steady state tempo work as we start getting really specific for Austin. So as much as I normally like those morning sprints, can't do them this year. But I had a podium placement in every sprint today and the final sprint, and that carries over throughout the winter. So like for the next 5 months, second place finisher. That's right. All right, enough jibber jabber. I gotta get to my very last cycling underwater, you know, the cycling underwater pain, tube down my nose. That, I wanna ask Daryl about a little bit about the training metrics that are out there. Heart rate variability, VO2 max, lactate threshold, heart rate monitoring, resting heart rate, all that jazz. I got questions. This is exciting. Trainiacs, you might remember Daryl from such events as making me nearly throw up, jamming a tube down my nose, making me cycle underwater, max effort wind gates.
3, 1, 2. Yeah, it's the full gamut.
Very fun. So Daryl is a sports scientist, and you want to give everyone, what are all your titles?
I'm a PhD candidate right now, doing some research that Taren's been involved with. I have a Master of Science in Exercise Physiology, a Bachelor of Sports Science. I'm a certified physiologist. I'm a strength coach, so I wear a lot of hats.
I asked Daryl before we got going on this very last trial today what the most overhyped training metric is.
I think it's a great question. In my personal opinion, I've had a pretty wide experience with a variety of different training metrics. For a recovery metric, I think heart rate variability is probably the most overrated metric out there. And the reason is it's such a fickle beast, if you will.
They're all losing their mind right now because I've been talking up HRV for like 4 months.
Yes, and
yes, and I'm an idiot.
No, I think it's come a long way. I was big into heart rate variability, looking for the magic ticket to recovery and understanding when an athlete's recovery, when to push them, several years ago.
Because, so like the premise for anyone who hasn't been around for all of the vlogs where I've talked about it, it's like the milliseconds and the variation of the milliseconds in your heartbeat. And you want more variation, right?
Yeah, so in its raw form, they call it temporal. So when you're looking at the time of a heart rate file, you're looking at the interval between beats. And you want to see that very highly variable because it means it's sensitive to anything that you're doing. Your body's on demand, it's tweaking it here and there as your physiology changes. So that's a good thing. When you get a static or a really low heart rate variability, essentially what that means is that your body's not responding to all the little perturbations that you're going through.
So where am I going wrong?
Well, let me ask you this. By analyzing it, have you been able to correlate it, or does it make sense when you look at it? When your heart rate variability is high, do you feel like piss and vinegar? And
Actually, yeah.
Yeah?
Yep. Yeah, piss and vinegar, not so much. What I have noticed is it has been a good leading indicator by about, say, 18 to 36 hours of telling me when I'm about to feel.
Sure.
However, I've thought, can that be a placebo effect? Because I'll get a low rating and I'll be like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I feel pretty good. And then by the end of the day, I'm like, powered down.
My experience with heart rate variability is that its predictive ability is low. It's good to look for trends, right? And you can see I'm generally going up, maybe I'm getting fatigued, but it is so responsive to the littlest things. If you sleep funny, if you're not standardizing or controlling your breathing while you're taking the sampling interval, right? Respiratory sinus arrhythmia, that will affect the proportion of the sympathetic and parasympathetic contribution to that variability. Now that's
It'll
getting
affect the reading too much.
Exactly.
To get consistent data.
Exactly. So
I have noticed that. Yeah.
So it's very spurious. You know, if you have a bad night's sleep or something happened during that night, if you didn't get into deep sleep, it's going to be worse. You know, you're going to have lower variability. So there's all these little things that'll manifest in reading, and if you don't have a really big data set with really kind of understanding what you were doing during those times, I think it's just data that's out there that's confusing people. I think the apps have come a long way because some of them have standardized, like give you a cadence or tempo to breathe with, so it gets rid of some of the RSA variability or, you know, contribution to that. I think they've used some algorithms to plot trends properly and not give you like a green light or a red light until you've collected 7, 24, 28 kind of days worth of data. And I've done it for close to 2 years on a group of athletes. I just think that it's overhyped. It doesn't take you to the promised land like we would have wished.
Damn it.
But that's just my opinion right now. I think there's other metrics, like I was telling Taren, your own perception, you know, quality of life scales and daily training, perceived exertion. My favorite is actually looking at heart rates for sub-maximal or fixed workloads. So if you're cycling and you have a fixed cadence and you're on a trainer or a turbo, and you look at your heart rate for those sub-maximal, sub-threshold wattages, that'll tell you exactly where you are for the day.
Okay.
So leading into a workout, I would love to see like the same heart rate or lower heart rate for any sub-maximal wattage, and that tells you that you're ready to rip. Some people are familiar with what's called an orthostatic challenge. So that's like when you're lying flat and you stand up, your heart rate's going to increase because you have the pressure change, and then it has to fall real quickly after it, you know, you survive the standing up challenge. So similarly, people can do that in the morning and look for how high does it get and how quickly does it come back to normal. That's also another metric that some people have used, probably in the Nordic countries, for looking at kind of a surrogate of heart rate variability or how the heart's handling load.
Science. So much I don't know. Okay, thank you for making me feel awful today and like an idiot too.
Cheers, bud.
Good man.